Hello, my name is Maggie Rose Cunningham, and today I'm going to be talking to you about calculating your birth hour rune, which I like to call your Nornir's gift runes. It's one of 14 of your birth runes. I'd like you to visualize for the moment a birthing room. Might be your birthing room, could be somebody else's, and you've got the mother obviously is present and the baby who's about to be born, and then you have the people. Perhaps there are some people there might not be, or there might be a huge team of people, and then you have the Odysseus circle of mother and baby. Now these might consider to be our ancestral, divine, feminine, guiding, protecting spirits who are around us throughout our lives, but they play a particular role for us in times of birth and death and initiation and trial and challenge. And they are there to guide and support. And you also have trekking along to come and be present at the birth, the nornir. Now, these aren't the nornir with a big capital N, Urd and Skuld, who watch over the past, the present, and the future. These are Nornir with a little n. They're like the helpers of Lord Fadandi and Skuld, who, much as they love us, probably can't be present at every single birth of every single child. But the Nornir collectively work to guide fate. So they come along and they read what is written in the stars, the movements of the planets through the runic wheel, and they begin to sing in and weave in to the baby's soul tapestry the runes that are resonating particularly strongly, creating this unique birthing song at the time that the child is born into the world. Now, the last rune to be selected, so I'm told by the Nornir, is the Nornir's gift. The reason for that is because runes like your Hellas Chariot rune, for example, Hellas Chariot, which is the equivalent of Pluto, only moves through each of the runes about every 9 years. And so you share that rune with people who are born on either side of that 9-year span with you. Now, as you come in and you move into the planets like Odin's chariot, Frigg's chariot, Mercury and Venus, and the moon, for example, as well, there's a much more rapid pace. So they're changing more frequently. And your first thread, which is your rising sign as well, will change relatively frequently. And the Nornir's gift is determined by the hour in which you are born. So let's say that the Nornir are looking at the runes that you have available to you. We've got this one and this one and this one. And it might be that you've got a really dominant rune, for example, or that they're coming together in a particular way. You might have lots of fire runes or lots of water runes, for example, and lots of different ways in which they might read this and say, okay, how can we best support this person, you, in fulfilling the heroic destiny that we see as your life purpose, and also the one that aligns with what's needed most in the world. So we've got the big fate, the way in which the planets are turning and destiny is unfolding, and then you've got your individual destiny as well. And they will look at those and they will say, okay, well, it might be that we need a rune that helps to balance out. If you've got some very dominant energies, it might be a balancing rune. It might be that it's like a wild card rune. We can see that this person is going to need to draw on strength, or they're going to need to be able to bring in those cleansing energies of Lagus, or they're going to need some rhythm in their life because they've got lots and lots of fiery or very fast energy runes. And so they will choose a rune for you that does that job. It's like your wild card rune. It's the one that you call on when life is a bit tricky. It might be that if you know your birth runes and you can see that you've got some really dominant energies, then you call on your Nornir's gift quite frequently. You might do healing work with your Nornir's gift energy as well. So lots of ways in which you can work with this particular rune once you know what it is. So what we're going to be looking at is how do you find out what that rune is at the moment. So we're going to be talking about that. And there are 2 ways essentially that you can, well, there are more than ways. There are 2 ways in which you can ascertain the rune. One is what I would call the easy way, which is to ascertain the clock hour birth rune. I'm going to talk to you through that in a moment. The second is what I have found to be the more accurate way, and that is your solar hour rune. I'd like you to imagine that at the point, if somebody is born at the spring equinox or at the autumn equinox, when the hours of day and night are in perfect balance, then their clock hour and solar hour runes may well be the same, because the day is balanced. And so the clock and the motion of the sun are following each other quite closely. But the further away you get from those equinox points, the more that you have more hours of daylight, less hours of night, or vice versa, and therefore your solar hour rune may be different. Now, I have my clock hour rune and my solar hour rune are different to each other, and I quite like my clock hour rune, and I like working with it. It's definitely been an initiator for me in my life, but I do have it elsewhere in my chart. And when I worked it out as my solar hour rune, I was like, no, this is actually so much more. No, I had such a strong relationship with this rune when I realized which rune it was, which is Uruz for me. And a lot of people that I've spoken to, a lot of my clients who I've spoken to and worked with over the years have said that, yes, their solar birth hour rune feels much more resonant for them. So if you are starting out with your birth runes, I would suggest use the clock hour rune. That's absolutely fine. Have a little bit of a play. If you decide that you then want to go seriously into working with your birth runes, then it is worthwhile making sure that you are working with the right rune and calculating for yourself, or having somebody else do it for you, your solar hour rune. Okay, so let's look at how you can then do that easy way and solar way. Okay, so you will find the clock hours on my website. What I'm going to share with you now is a piece that has got those clock hours on it as well, but also has the solar hours on it as well. So if you are a member of Suna's Star Wheel, which you will see here, then you have access to my Birth Rune Self-Discovery Kit. And I'm going to share with you a resource from that, and then we're going to look at the solar hours as well. So if you are a member and you're looking for where is the self-discovery toolkit, Maggie, this is just a little bit of an overview for you. So you can see when it is that I'm doing the video now in August 2024. But if you come to the jump to the section you want bit right at the bottom, it says Discovering Your Birth Runes. Click on that, and then you've got your Birth Runes Oracle. So you just click on this link and it will take you to it. I'm actually going to open it at the page that I want because it's a much larger resource with lots of other stuff. So this is page 20. Which is about your Nornir's gift. And you'll see here that I've got a little diagram for you of how the clock hours are worked. Now, this comes from the work of Nigel Pennick. He's my primary resource for the work that I've done with the birth runes. I have developed, augmented, changed a few bits as well as I've worked through them for now 14 years at the time that I'm recording this. But you'll see here we've got this little diagram, and what it does is it starts, you think of our pivot. So our pivot is the Dargaz rune here, which is at midday. So here's the Dargaz rune, what the Dargaz rune looks like. So I'd like you to imagine this is the rune of the day, and we've got like the day and the night in balance together. I want you to imagine that midday, for the purposes of this, is in the center of the hour of Dargaz. And this is the half hour before, and this is the half hour after, both of which are in the birth hour of Dargaz, but this is the bit in the center, which is important. But that's where midday is for the purposes of this birth hour. Okay, so then everything else is calculated around that. So we have tracking backwards before it, we have Athala, then Ingus, then Lagus, then Manas, then Ewas, and then we have our sunrise rune, which is always Bacano. So in the wheel of the year, Bacano is the spring equinox, and Kinaz on the other side, which is the 6 p.m. when the sun sets, is the autumn equinox. So the day follows the same cycle as the year. And then Yera right down here is at midnight. So the middle of the Yera birth hour is midnight, and then the 2 half hours are on either side. So based on that, if you know what time you are born, then you can work out your clock hour rune. Now, just to say, if you don't know what time you are born, one of the things that I do for my clients is we draw a rune. We ask the Nornir to gift the Nornir's gift rune, and then we calculate the rest of your chart based on that. So we do a reading to say which rune do the Nornir want to gift to you now. No? So that's the way that we do it if you don't know what time you were born. It's absolutely fine. So that's the easy way. Now we're going to move on to talking about how you do this with the solar hour, because as I have said, not every day follows this. So we do not have sunrise at 6 a.m. every day and sunset at 6 p.m. every day. So the way that we have to do this is you will go and you will find out when the sun rose on the day of your birth and when the sun set on the day of your birth. And you will calculate everything else based on that. And what happens is, the hours stretch. So if you were born around the time of the winter solstice, then the hours that are in blue, sort of the nighttime runes, will be significantly longer. They will be more than 60 minutes. So Bacano will still be the sunrise, just won't be at 6 a.m. And Kinaz will still be the sunset, just won't be at 6 p.m. And then the rest of the runes you calculate as a perfect balance between them. So each of those is equal. But Bacano and Kinaz, they change where they are. So you can get very, very long birth hours in the nighttime in the winter solstice and very, very long day hours at the time of the summer solstice. So that's how we do, that's how we stretch. So if you are somebody who is committed, I'm going to work this out for myself, you absolutely can. I did, basically, that's what I took from Nigel Pennick's work, and then I went and I worked out my birth rune based on that. Now, if you are still a little bit mathematically minded, you want to do it yourself, then you can use the birth rune self-discovery kit to do that. So what I have done for you is I have got little templates for you calculating the solar time. So I take you through the overview of the steps that you will do, finding out the sunset and the sunrise, calculating the number of minutes of daylight, dividing them by 12, all of these things. And then I provide templates because you need to do it in a slightly different way, depending on whether you were born during the hours of night or during the hours of day. So I have different templates to help people doing that. So that you will find in the self-discovery kit. Now, if you are not someone who thinks, yes, I really want to go and do all of those dark calculations for myself, or I want to use the self-discovery kit in order to do it, then you can still find out what your Nornir's gift is and the rest of your birth runes, because you can just have your birth runes report created for you, and we will calculate all 14. I'm doing 5 there, which is obviously ridiculous, but 14 of your birth runes. The halls associated with each one, which I'll talk about in a separate video. The halves of the AC Nor associated with each one as well, which is a really fun extra part of the birth runes. It's gifted to me by Frigg, that particular piece. It's not part of Pennick's work, but I found it really, really helpful. And you will get a description. So what does it mean that you have your Nornir's gift in Urus, for example? So it's a 24-page report, so it's very personal to you. So 3 different ways that you can calculate what your Nornir's gift is, and you can do it by clock hour or you can do it by solar hour. So I hope that explains to you how it works. Doing it yourself, think about it as a devotional act. That's the way that I thought about it. I was like, this is a devotional act. And working with my Nornir's gift rune, which for me is Urus, it was actually the first rune that spoke to me. It spoke to me incredibly powerfully. It came forward as a healing rune for me at a time when I was really, really struggling. My Thurasaz rune, which was what I originally thought my birth hour is actually my Loki's chariot. It's a great challenger rune for me, and it has offered many challenges in the past, but it's actually the Nornir's gift that has really supported me in overcoming many of those challenges. So I hope that you enjoy discovering what your Nornir's gift rune is. Any questions, any comments, please let me know. Pop something in the chat if you're watching this on YouTube. Email me, talk@meganrose.com. I would love to hear how this video has supported you in getting to know your birth runes.